primetime hearings of the January 6th committee actually started last night, and all I can say is it was must-see TV. Welcome to MOMocrats Chat, part of the DemCast family of podcasts. I'm Donna Schwartz Mills, along with my good friends Karoli and Aliza Worthington of crooksandliars.com. And there were a lot of people trying to lower our expectations for last night.
Boy, no kidding. Like everybody was like that. David frickin' Brooks is out there saying they already failed, and everybody else is like, well, Fox News was like, this is just, old news. The only anybody cares about is inflation. Yeah, right.
Yeah, well,
I mean, not that we can actually walk and chew gum. Yeah.
They didn't air it at all. They told lies, and they didn't have any commercials to make sure nobody would switch from Tucker.
I know.
Oh, really?
Well,
I didn't
it wasn't just Tucker. It was Hannity and Ingram, too.
Yeah.
They didn't do it for any of their prime time?
Right. Yeah.
You guys, you guys talk. My husband's calling. I need to get it.
Oh.
Okay. Talk amongst yourselves.
Yourselves. That's crazy. I didn't know the part about not airing commercials. Sorry. I always forget to clean my glasses before we start this. And then I realize that I need to. But
okay.
Yeah, and the snippets they did show were not the testimony, but the just pictures of the room,
right,
of the audience, of the people watching,
right.
Not,
and they didn't show any of the videos.
They didn't broadcast any of the video on Fox.
So I thought that overall. And I'm a geek, so it's, a political geek. So it's sort of hard for me to gauge what Joe Average might think of this. But that video in the middle, right before the break.
Before the first break.
I don't know about you, but it left me with my heart pounding and my, hands clammy. And I mean, it was bad enough watching it from the perspective we had on January 6th.
Yeah.
But watching it from the perspective of the law enforcement,
yes,
was just crazy stressful.
I had my hand over my mouth for a lot of the time, and I had tears in my eyes for a lot of it. I was so, and a knot in my stomach. It was such a physical response I had to watching it. It was,
and apparently the people in the room were also responding that way. Many of them had been at the Capitol when it happened. Many of them were members of Congress. The Washington Post reported today that there were tears in the room, that it was very affecting while they were there. As a viewer who's been paying attention, it was very affecting. But
and the thing is that we've seen, as news junkies, we've seen a lot of video since then too. I mean, we've seen in the testimony from previous hearings that when when Officer Fanone testified and when other people were testifying, we've seen never before seen video. We've been watching video all along, but this was for
visceral.
Well, don't forget that they hired as a consultant the former head of ABC News, who's a documentarian.
Right.
And what a good move that was.
It was a good move. Which is kind of interesting, because the funny thing is that for the impeachment trial, impeachment 2.0, Republicans were accusing, they made it their business to not hire an outside a Hollywood director or somebody in show business to create that 13-minute video that they showed in the impeachment trial, because they wanted very much not to be accused of
grandstanding,
being connected to Hollywood, having, bringing in some hotshot to make it all look,
Right.
They still got accused of doing that, even though it
Sure.
wasn't
But
true.
then,
Jamie Raskin says, I got phone call after phone call from well-meaning director after well-meaning producer, kind-hearted, wanting to help and offer their services for free if you need me to put something together for the impeachment trial. And he rejected every single call
well,
for,
they
every
didn't have
single
to.
offer,
And
because,
that was a completely different situation from what we have now, where they've got
right.
testimony from over 1,000 people and over 100,000 documents,
Yeah.
and they've got to distill it. They're trying to tell a narrative, and to get help from a professional to help them in presenting this narrative,
Yeah.
I think is a masterful decision. I think Benny Thompson is doing a fantastic job
What a
as
statesman.
chair.
What a
And,
statesman.
Hmm.
And I found it a little frustrating, as did some of my political friends on Twitter, that Liz Cheney was getting all the attention.
yeah, but you know what?
Um,
It was strategic because she's going after
I understand
Republicans.
that, but
And
I really felt that Benny Thompson should not be overlooked for his
no,
masterful guidance
no.
and his statesmanship and the way he is, the things he included in his opening statement, and the way he set the framework for the entire, um for the whole thing. I
But he
think was
also made the decision to make her the attack dog.
exactly. And I mean, just that by itself, and to make her the vice chair,
Yes,
and to thank her for her friendship, and
yes,
to show, like what, and she did a stupendous job. I'm not
yes.
taking anything away from her. I'm not taking that away from her. I mean, I will give her credit for doing a fabulous job.
Yeah, I would
But
never vote
people who
for
are
her.
falling all over themselves saying, "Oh, she's going to be the first woman president," and
Yeah.
whatever, and I'd vote for Liz Cheney in a heartbeat. That kind of shit just makes me want to pull my hair out,
Don't
because
worry
she
about
still,
it
she still
because
voted with Donald Trump 93% of the time, and
yeah,
she
and
still,
we
Right.
don't even think that she is going to get reelected.
no,
But
it's that kind of thing just drives me nuts. And I would just,
yeah.
yeah, thank you, Liz Cheney, for doing what really is the bare minimum, which is telling the truth and upholding the
But,
Constitution.
but in a
And
party
in the
that are
face of
all
a Republican
traitors,
Party that won't do any of that,
right?
that's so that's the risk. What's absurd is that it's a risk to do that. And I still feel the need to keep that front and center. That
It,
how dystopian it is, that it's a risk to
it's
tell the
only
truth.
a risk because they make it be a
Right,
risk. If
right,
they chose to, all of them chose to do the right thing instead of bowing down to
right.
their
But
donors or to, the bullies in the party,
Well, if they
right?
voted, if they took a secret poll, if they made the vote, and if they made the impeachment vote secret, they would have been able to get rid of Donald Trump.
Right. That's my point.
Yeah,
I mean,
but
it's
no.
it's
they're
it's
cowards.
cowardice. It's absolute
They're
total
afraid
cowardice.
of their voters, and
Well,
we've seen why.
I,
I'm afraid of their voters.
I am too.
yeah, but I mean that's not an excuse. They don't get to do that.
No,
That they're supposed to be leaders. Somebody's got to
no,
lead,
exactly.
here's Liz Cheney doing it. So
Mhm.
kudos to her for that.
Yeah,
And
I
she,
can simultaneously be proud of the job that she is doing as chair of this committee and honor her for that,
vice
while
chair.
yeah, vice chair, definitely, ranking Republican,
Mhm.
while simultaneously abhorring her political stances on
Yeah,
just about everything else
yeah,
except
Right,
supporting the Constitution.
yeah.
right. So but what was genius about her being the one presenting was that she's a Republican, and so you can't you can have Fox News all day long say, oh, this is just Democrats staging everything, blah blah blah. But Liz Cheney is the one who is a Republican, one of two, who is presenting all of this evidence, and she went right for Trump's throat right
Yeah,
out of the gate.
immediately,
Yeah.
immediately.
And every piece of testimony they played last night came out of the mouth of a Republican.
Yes,
Mhm.
like I
And
said,
Exactly.
Trump acolyte
masterful.
at that, almost every single one was a Trump acolyte.
Right,
Right.
Maybe
right.
not the investigator, but
Well,
It
Bill
belonged to
Yeah,
God.
Barr.
or the Proud Boy,
Yeah.
the guy who was embedded, the filmmaker who was embedded with the Proud
Right.
Boy. But everybody
Mhm.
else, um, the politicians were
Yeah,
all, Trump
Republicans.
sycophants.
Yeah.
So, and that was what was so interesting about it. So, the interesting parts for me were the unnamed congressman who
Yes.
sought pardons.
Yes.
And we now know who they are. I kind of hate to tell you, only because we're going to have a
Do
post
we?
on it. We do. You want to know who it is?
Of course.
Do you want to open the package before
Oh,
Christmas? Is that what you want to
yeah.
do? Okay, well,
Well,
here you
yeah.
go. So,
The Post hasn't
at
published
least
yet.
4 of them, we know their
You know,
names.
four.
So,
I think there's
and
probably more than four.
I think there are 2.
Oh,
So,
there's got to be
Scott
more
Perry
than
was the
4.
one that she named the name on.
Right. Right.
And
Wait, say
then
that again.
there's Scott
Scott.
Perry
Oh, Scott Perry.
is, yeah,
Right.
she named his name.
She
And
named
then
him
the
last
other
year.
3 others we know about are Andy Biggs, Mo Brooks, and Paul Gosar. So there
Um,
you go.
and
And
that
they're
makes
the Ali Alexander buddies.
yeah.
Couldn't
Well,
happen to nicer guys.
Scott Perry was the guy who brought Jeffrey Clark to their attention,
Hmm.
and he
That's
was
right.
very involved in it. Mo Brooks is the guy that wore body armor to the rally.
Yep.
Paul Gosar is just out and out loon.
Hmm.
He is a lunatic. He is just an absolute
And he'll get
deranged.
reelected. That's the part that just blows my mind. Like he'll get reelected
remember
because
districts.
yeah.
Where's he
So
from again? I forget where Gosar.
Arizona
Oh, Arizona.
and
That's
the
right.
desert sun has fried his brain. It's the only explanation I can come up with.
Not his families, though.
Not
I
his
don't understand.
family.
He's just an outlier in that
No,
family.
Yeah.
he is. So the other, I mean, in addition to these guys, the other thing that I thought was interesting was how well they portrayed or told us the story of how the Proud Boys, were basically ahead of everybody else. Like
Yeah.
this was clearly orchestrated. I mean,
Business.
I mean, that was a big deal, right?
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
Not to
set up
they
mention
they
the
were out in front
footage,
of
Maryland and
everybody.
the
yeah.
footage, the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers meeting
Yeah,
in the parking structure the night before.
right. So there's coordination
Coordinated.
between these two
Yeah.
extremist groups, right? And then they're way ahead of the crowd getting to the Capitol,
By
right?
over an
While Trump
hour.
is driving the rest of the crowd there with the let's go
Yeah.
march to the Capitol, the Proud Boys are there ready to knock shit down
They
and get in
weren't
the
there
doors.
for the rally at all. And, from previous reports, we know that the leaders of these groups met in the White House with Trump previously.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And at
And
the
what was
time,
really interesting to me was the footage of, I mean, not a surprise because I mean we predicted this and kind of knew it when it happened, but the footage of the people saying that the Proud Boys, once they were in custody or testifying, saying that when Trump said stand back and stand by, that it they took it, their
Literally.
membership increased exponentially.
it
They
tripled.
took it as a money making opportunity. They took
Mhm.
it as a call to action. They took, and it's just, I mean, we knew this, we predicted it, but it was just really still compelling to see this, and it was the same way with the video. Like we knew how violent and brutal it was, but it was still just
It's easy
watching
to
it
forget.
again from those different camera angles. And I asked my son, the one who was back there before, when we went to lunch today, and I said, what, because he was in New York last night watching it, and I said, what of the video, what really struck you? Because he said, like I had forgotten how brutal and bloody and violent that
Yes.
was.
Yes.
And
It's human nature to forget that.
I guess so. And I said, what about the video? Like if you could pick one thing from the video, what stuck out for you? And he said, I think it was the radio talk of the from the police. I think hearing the chatter from the police, which was something we hadn't heard before, hearing the panic in their voices when they were like
Mhm.
following the Proud Boys and when they were realizing that there was going to be a breach, just hearing how panicked those police were.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and he said that, and I said that was definitely something for me too. Listening to them say, "Holy shit!" There's a crowd of about you guys. There's about 300 Proud Boys about marching to the Capitol for some reason, and that's and I don't remember if it was a someone uh whether it was like Joy Reid or somebody, or it was somebody actually in the hearings who said that these police officers, the Capitol Police at any rate, um, are really kind of just glorified doormen. They don't they're not the same kind of police officers you see in patrol cars are making arrests. They're there
Right.
to that's
They're
not the
not
kind of
there to quell a riot.
yeah.
You
Well,
know?
and that's basically what Carolyn Edwards said. She said,
Yeah.
I'm not trained
She said, I'm not
for,
combat
For
trained.
hand-to-hand
yeah,
combat,
I'm
right.
not
yeah,
combat trained. But like none of them, they know the people that come in and out every day. They know their names. They are there to check their bags. They're there to,
right.
Right.
but if there's a lunatic who, they'll tackle them or whatever. But like
And
they're
if
not.
there's a threat, the National Guard's supposed to be called in,
Yeah, you would,
you know?
by
You're
the
supposed to
president.
have backup.
Yes. Yeah.
But,
Well,
and the testimony that and Liz Cheney set it out very well that during this time, Trump did not call judiciary, he did not call defense, he did not call Homeland Security. The and I think in the next one we're going to hear more about all those personnel machinations that
Hmm.
he did in the weeks prior to January 6th to ensure that nobody would help the violent thugs that he was planning to
Hmm.
incite. This was all, and they're doing a very good job of establishing that all of these different, complicated, what did she say it was? A 7-point plan
A
or
7-part
plan?
plan. Yeah, 7-point
Yeah,
plan.
yeah, yeah. It was not spontaneous. It was not just a riot. It was orchestrated and it came from the top.
now, and keep in mind that in Florida, in Miami, the Proud Boys control the Republican Party there.
Yeah,
Yeah, Miami-Dade. That's
Miami-Dade.
Enrico Tarrio is a member of that, isn't he?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, he was the head of Latinos for Trump. And now I don't know if it's Enrico Tario or someone else, but someone else is, I think it's someone else, but
Oh,
they're in charge of the Miami-Dade Republican Party. I mean, that should terrify us.
yeah.
They're neo-Nazis.
Well,
Jesus. I mean,
Florida is a fascist state right now under DeSantis,
Yeah.
which is terrifying also.
well, yeah, because if Trump doesn't run, DeSantis will.
And he's smart. Unlike Trump,
Yeah.
Yeah.
he will get the fascist job done.
Yeah.
This is a terrifying time.
It is a terrifying time. Which is why I'm glad they're doing these hearings. And my hope is that everybody who watched those hearings last night, who knows somebody who didn't,
Yeah.
will go to them and say, "Oh my gosh, you've got to watch the next one. You just have to." I mean,
Yeah.
Well, the next
it's
one
that
will
kind
be
of,
It's
time.
on YouTube. There,
or go watch it. But I
Right.
mean, my point is, like, how series get viral, right? Like, like
Yeah.
they come out of nowhere because
Yeah.
somebody will watch them and then tell their friends, "Oh my God, I watched this thing and it was great." And
Yeah.
that's
Again,
what I'm hoping will happen
that's
here.
why they were very smart to get professional documentary makers
Yeah.
involved. That is, as it is, The ratings last night, 20 million households were tuned into this.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Good.
And does that
Um,
include people who streamed it like online with
No, I
the
think there's more from online.
it's more online.
Another
This is just from
the cable?
another
and
maybe 2 million.
and the networks.
Yeah.
So you had like 4 million on ABC and just slightly fewer on MSNBC, and then 3 million on NBC. And I forget what CBS, CNN had, but it was 20 million,
Wow.
which is a very healthy number of people who are watching.
No, it is. And I hope, like I said, though, I hope that that 20 million goes out and tells another, you know, 7 million,
Another
8
20
million, 9,
million.
10,
I mean, like
whatever.
if
Yeah.
everybody tells one person,
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And gets one
and what I
person to watch
really
it.
hope is that they get up off their asses and vote in the midterms.
Well, that's
Well, that's the next topic.
the next
Let's.
topic. As you know, California had its primary on Tuesday,
Yeah.
and the
Sorry.
turnout was as dismal
Abysmal.
as it always is when there is a midterm primary. And I really had hoped that Californians would have learned something from the last 5 years. Now, someone else pointed out that after the recall, which had a huge turnout,
Yeah.
people are weary of elections.
Mm.
And that's probably true. But you know what, folks? You got to suck it up. It doesn't take that. Okay, it took me 2 hours to fill out my ballot.
So California made it as easy as they could possibly make it. I mean, they sent ballots to everybody that was a registered voter. All you had to do was fill them in and give them back. Having said that, I also come to realize that California's ballots are very difficult for elderly people to fill out. Very difficult. And in fact, my parents really struggled because you have to fill in these little bubbles and their hands shake.
Yeah.
And so
We really need to look into those Inca dots that they used to have on the little, the ballot things, and they got rid of the chads and they replaced it with a pen that just perfectly fills the dot.
Right.
If somebody doesn't make those, we need to manufacture those.
I know. Because honestly, it was super hard for them. I mean, I know that's just a small subset, but if
but it's an active subset, they are,
right.
older people vote.
Right. Or
exactly.
a stamp that you could use to fill out the dot. And maybe early you should look into that before November,
Yeah, I will. Because I realized that that's just super hard. And then, from there, it's pretty easy. I mean, they signed off on me dropping off the ballot at the ballot box or at the drop box. So that was fine. So it was easy. I mean, part of it is people just don't get excited about primaries.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Or
and I mean, I think the only reason we had the turnout in Ventura County which was 2 points above the statewide average, was because there was a hot sheriff's race here. They were both wingnuts. One worked for the other one. And the current sheriff basically reassigned, as soon as he found out that the undersheriff was going to run against him, he reassigned him to jail duty, which pissed off the union. So they funded like this huge campaign for this guy, and he won by 12 points, or at least he's leading by that. The last I saw. So yeah.
Well, for me, the ballot was very long. Mm-hmm. There were a lot of Superior Court judges, which all had to get looked up. There were some very good online.
I didn't have judges, thank God.
We had judges. I didn't have a council member in my district. And of course, the big thing that made the news is the billionaire land developer who Rick Caruso.
It is Caruso,
who builds very nice malls. I love going to his malls and shopping there, but he has no business being mayor of Los Angeles, and his only platform is getting rid of the homeless. He doesn't have.
Does he plan to do that by building housing for them?
No, tent cities.
LOL.
I can't. he just wants, and you have, as somebody put
Trying to
it,
be nice.
call this the next door election
Yes.
because of all the people, all the middle class people
Oh
who
God.
don't want, no, we don't want, nobody likes seeing the homeless encampments.
The NIMBY election.
Well, it isn't just that.
Yes.
In Los Angeles, we've got 50,000 people on the streets.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a problem. It's
It
not, it's a
It
is
is a
real
a
problem.
genuine
problem,
problem.
but it is not simply a matter of dismantling their encampments. They have
Yeah.
no
Right.
to go. There aren't enough
Yeah.
beds. Now, there's one council district here in the valley where, the last time they did the homeless count, he discovered that there were 800 homeless people on the streets in his district. And so for the last couple of years, he had 800 tiny homes built
Oh wow.
on land in North Hollywood, enough to remove everybody that was in, and those are meant to be temporary, but they are structures. They
Yeah.
are actual housing with showers and facilities,
Plumbing.
and and they're working on. There's a program that they've started to, get those who want jobs working for the city.
Yeah.
They're actually making plans to do something.
Yeah.
The district I live in, every time that there's a proposal to build a shelter in my district,
Yeah.
we find some reason not to approve it. We have no
NIMBYs.
shelters in my district. And, the directive has been that there should be shelters in every district because these homeless people are here.
Yeah.
Well, because they deserve to have a roof over their head. I
The
They're
mean,
human
problem
beings.
is you
they're,
can't afford, okay, when I bought my house in 1996, it was 176,000. Okay.
Wow.
And I get the Zillow emails every time a house in the neighborhood goes on sale.
Yeah.
And nothing is going on sale in this neighborhood for under $1 million now.
right.
These are middle class houses.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's really the problem. The cost of
And
housing is so high, and it's not just buying a house; it's renting a house
yeah,
too. I mean, we have the same problem out here. I mean, it's not as pronounced as it is in LA, but we have the same issues where housing is just so expensive that young people can't buy it and they can't afford it,
right.
and so they end up either leaving or they end up on the street. I mean, they need to make it. Bottom line here is that they need to figure out a solution that will get the encampments off the street. Nobody wants to see people camped on the street
Right.
for a
No,
number of reasons. I mean, for health reasons. I mean, it's not good for anybody. It's not good for those
if
people
you
that are.
listen to the people on Nextdoor, these people are causing crime to rise. And there's actually
Well,
no correlation
right,
between the homeless encampments and the rise of crime.
They're
That has
probably more the
actually
victims of crime than anything else.
right,
right. I
exactly.
agree,
And it has
and
more
that's one
to
reason to get them
do
off the street.
with what's happening to the economy, the
Mhm.
general, economic situation than
Yeah.
anything else. That
Right.
the fact that people just went nuts being in isolation during the pandemic, which we are still experiencing because we still have a pandemic going on,
Yeah.
and people are still getting sick and
Well,
dying.
that's not going to stop because they just lifted the requirement for people coming in from other countries, didn't they? That they
They did. And
Yeah.
in March,
test.
they lifted the mask requirements, and today's news is, yeah, we think by July the masks will be back. And it's just like, why bother?
Yeah.
If you're going to go someplace indoor, public place, wear the damn mask. It's not a
Right.
big deal,
Right.
except that it got politicized. I mean, I just wonder what would have happened if Trump hadn't been such
Such an asshole.
Yeah. And if he had worn the damn mask, think how many lives would be saved if he had not turned public health directives into an infringement on your freedom.
Yeah.
And we all know the reason why he wouldn't wear a mask is he didn't want it to mess up his makeup, right?
He's too vain.
not
Right?
bad.
When you slather on an inch of foundation, you don't want,
Yeah.
masks to go over it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh. Anyway, it's just I mean, I think about that what if stuff and then I have to stop. But it's like my son finally got COVID, my
Oh,
middle
I'm
one.
How's
sorry.
he feeling?
He's tired but better. I mean, it's taken him a long time to recover from it.
That's too
So
bad.
yeah,
But he was the one who has health issues anyway, right?
right.
Yeah.
So you were worried about him getting COVID. Now that
Immunosuppressed. So
right.
yeah. So I mean, when I knew that he was working with little kids, I figured it was going to be inevitable because just
Yeah.
like my daughter with the preschoolers,
Well, your
you
daughter
just
got it too, right?
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, you just do because
Yeah.
there's so much virus, it doesn't matter.
Right.
And they don't have to wear masks, so they're not wearing masks. And
And they're
yeah,
not vaccinated because it hasn't been approved for them yet.
exactly. Yeah.
So there isn't much you can do.
Nope. I know. So hopefully they've had it and it's over with and there's not going to be any long-term side effects. That's my optimism right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Well, I mean, that's more likely than not going to be the case. So
I think so.
Good.
So yeah. So anyway, where were we? Oh, midterms.
midterms.
So
Yeah.
yes,
So Karen Bass lost, right?
No,
Well,
it's
Or
not.
is it going to a recount?
Yeah.
right, no, it's going to a runoff.
Going to
I'm
runoff.
sorry,
She
a
and Rick
runoff.
Rosso will be in a runoff in
Right.
November. Well,
The actual
we were hoping Karen Bass would go over 50% in the primary. If that had happened, there wouldn't have been a runoff. She would have just been elected.
So neither of them got over 50%? Is
Right.
that what happened?
Right.
Right.
Mhm.
He
Okay.
got something like 42 and she got something like 37.
Okay.
And there were other candidates.
Yeah. And honestly, it's the other candidates, unfortunately, Kevin De Leon,
Who
who
is good,
ran,
but
he's a good politician. He ran
I
against
remember
Dianne Feinstein. I'm not going to say anything bad about him, but he was the spoiler in this race because what happened is that they voted for him at like
Instead of Karen
15%
Bass,
or
yeah.
something.
Yeah.
And that would have put her over the 50%.
right.
Do you think he's going to get behind her and really
Yeah, I'm sure he will.
He
I'm
has
sure
no
he
choice
will.
but to get behind her because,
Yeah.
Caruso is not a Democrat. And
Right.
De Leon is a progressive.
Right.
Okay, good. All right.
Yeah, no, he'll get behind her. It's just that, I mean, the key is what she said on election night, which is we're going to have to make sure everybody knows there's only one Democrat in this race.
Yes.
And that's her.
Yep.
And they have to reach out to the Latino community. Los Angeles is 49% Latino.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, basically, just the white people showed up to vote.
Mm.
Yeah. The white coastal people.
Yeah.
And suburbs, yeah. So I don't know. We'll see what happens, but it's going to be a slog between now and November, I'm afraid.
Well, what's the barrier? Are they threatening to have ICE there and stuff like that? Like there's
No, because you can't vote unless you're a citizen. And
I know, but
and you've got mail ballots, and there's no. I think that there's a lot of apathy, and not so much apathy, but frustration, a feeling that nothing is getting done and that it doesn't matter. And that's the message they're getting, and that message is being deliberately sent out to people. There were a lot of people interviewed in the LAist who didn't even know the election was happening.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How can that be? I mean, there's signs everywhere. How can you not know there's an election?
All the signs of Caruso.
Well, yeah, but still, I mean, come on. But I do want to address just for a minute this sense of there's nothing happening or nothing getting done. Because I feel that way too. And I feel like, and I'm just going to address it in the context of the gun issue, right? Where the House is passing what I think is a pretty decent, moderate package. I mean, it's not even like they're not even banning assault style weapons, which has been done before, you guys. It's been done before and everything. But I mean, there are some good parts of it.
Right.
What is it? They're raising the age limit to 25?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. What else?
Well, actually, I should say the House passed it. So they passed this, and the newspapers essentially said, the House passes it, Senate's unlikely to do anything. Well, I mean, that just triggered me right away. But what triggered me more was Chris Murphy on the Sunday shows basically saying, yeah, we're not going to do that thing. We're not going to even try for that. It's like, why? If you're not going to pass anything, I mean, do Democrats not understand in the Senate that nobody bargains in good faith, that everything that they do, they should be fighting for the maximum because they're not going to get anything anyway. So they should at least look like they're fighting, right? And give people a reason to vote for more Democrats.
Yeah,
I don't understand it. I don't understand what they think they're doing.
So good and so passionate on the Senate floor after Uvalde, you know, I know this is an issue he really cares about after Sandy Hook, and then he makes comments like that, and I don't understand. Like, there's no strategy behind that at all.
There isn't. It doesn't make any sense to me at all. It's like, why would you do that? Why wouldn't you start again, like negotiate from a position of strength? 87% of this country wants universal background checks. 87%. And they're not even going for that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just absurd. I'll tell you why. And this is why people are frustrated, and why they're frustrated with Democrats is because there's Democrats that side with Republicans on this.
Oh yeah.
There's John
Bernie
Tester,
Sanders
there's Joe Manchin, there's Michael Bennet, there's Bernie Sanders. All of those people are the same as Republicans on this. And that's what frustrates me.
Yeah.
I'm about to become a one-issue voter on this. I really am. And my issue is going to be stop playing potsy with these guys and start playing hardball.
Yeah.
Deal. If they're not going to do it, if they're not going to come to the table and make a good faith negotiation, then make them look like the assholes they are.
Take a page,
every one of them,
from their book, from their handbook, and make them vote on unpopular stances and get them on the record and do it all.
Yeah. Over and over and over again until it works.
We know that you believe in governance. We know that you believe in playing by the rules, but you're dealing with people who don't do anything in good faith and would overturn the government as soon as they get the chance, and they may get the chance, and democracy is on the line.
But if
it's like it, you need to recognize that democracy.
But what do you do with the Democrats who won't vote for a reasonable gun bill?
You make them vote anyway. You make them take the tough vote.
Make them take the tough vote. It's
not going to pass, so what does it matter, right? It at least makes them get the appearance. I mean, to me, this is Chuck Schumer being a pussy too. Sorry, but
Nancy Pelosi would get something done in the Senate.
Yeah, I know. Tell me about it.
She would. I mean, all this, there was somebody yesterday, a couple of days ago in the hearing, there was a hearing, and it was Cory Booker. Excuse the rattling in the background. Somebody's opening a box.
That's okay.
And Cory Booker is members of our family. Each one of us has had a member of our family today.
Right. So Cory Booker is giving a little speech in this committee meeting, and he's like, all of these, members of the Senate whom I love, blah, blah, blah. The Republicans are, you know what? I'm done with it. I'm over it. Don't sit there and sell me on your Republican friends anymore, because they're not your friends. They're not our friends. They're not doing anything. And if we don't start, we got to stop giving them cover, man. I mean, that's the thing. All of this just gives them cover to do whatever the hell they want to do with impunity.
Yeah.
Because nobody's saying, look at those guys over there. They're not doing it.
Partisanship with fascists.
Yeah, you can't do it.
You can't do it.
You can't partner with fascists.
Partisanship with people who honestly couldn't give two shits about the lives of a 6-year-old or a 9-year-old.
Isn't that horrifying?
That you
Isn't
can't.
That just horror. That there's no humanity. in
They
some
really
way
are. They
doesn't
really do
care
lack. They
about a
lack
fourth
humanity.
grader, you know? I mean, that traumatized little girl from Uvalde
I mean,
testifying.
that was just so hard to hear,
Oh my
Yeah,
that
God.
her
I mean, and
testimony.
her poise and her.
Yeah. She shouldn't have had to do that. She shouldn't have
no,
ever had to even experience that. But
no.
I will speak from personal experience. When trauma like that happens at that age, you manage to push through it. And if you're
But
not
it affects
careful,
your
you
whole
just
life.
stuff it and it'll come back and bite you in the butt like 10 years later.
Yeah,
And that's what I worry about with her. I
yeah.
worry that she's, because she is brave and she did all the things that she had to do to survive, but at some point it's going to come back. It's going to boomerang on her and
She better be in
emotionally,
some
I
kind of
really
trauma
hope.
therapy.
But the
right?
problem is she's in Texas and they don't fund mental health in Texas.
But I
Well,
thought that
I
all the Republicans said this was a problem with mental health, that this was
Yes, and
caused
then
by mental
Abbott
health.
took the line item out of the budget.
right. And here's the other thing with that, right? So the one thing that apparently our useless Senate is talking about right now is mental health funding. That's not a gun bill. We
No,
need mental health funding for a number of reasons,
anyway. Yeah,
Yeah.
right?
like
Yeah,
But that
tell
is
me,
not a gun bill.
Republicans never care so much about mental health as when there's as when there's a massacre.
as
Right.
long as it's
You know,
Because
all
white
of
that's
a
what they
groups
sudden,
scapegoat.
reporting the
yeah,
massacre.
that's the only
Um,
time they act like they give a shit about mental health.
but it's like this
Yeah.
guy that wanted to kill Kavanaugh. I mean,
Right.
obviously crazy. I mean, I mean, it was a cry for help, and he really planned to do it. But
He
he
called
also
for help though. He's the one who called.
did.
He
He was like,
self-reported.
right. He didn't. He says, "Wait a minute. What am I doing here?" And he called. He called 911 on himself,
On himself.
and
Yeah.
he says he said, "I don't think I'm well. I need mental help."
And yet,
Yeah.
like there's as soon as the leaked draft for, overturning Roe happens, all of a sudden the Senate can vote 99 to nothing
To protect
to
Supreme Court
protect all the
justices.
Supreme Court justices.
And apparently, seeing the armed guard in front of Kavanaugh's house is what made him decide not to go through with his plan.
Whatever, but but it won't motivate, the slaughter of 19 children and 2 teachers, while 19 police officers standing outside in the hallway while they're still bleeding out, while they're still alive, is not enough to get them to either reform police bill, to get them to reform the police, or pass a gun law. But
Yeah.
one, you write outside, you write in chalk outside of Susan Collins' house, and there's, you know,
The House, by the way, has not
unknown
passed
card.
that bill. They've not passed the bill that the Senate passed. The House hasn't passed it.
Oh,
The Senate
Which
passed
bill?
it
I'm
and sent it
sorry.
to the House. The Supreme Court Justice Protection Funds.
Oh, right,
right.
but that's what I'm saying. Like they could the Senate can all get together and pass that,
Yeah.
Right.
but they
But
won't get
here's
they won't vote on a bill. They won't get together and vote on any kind of gun reform or any
right,
kind of police reform, or for that matter, any kind of voting rights.
right.
No.
I mean, if
No,
you want
those
to,
things
talk
won't
about a
happen.
useless
They've
Senate.
So exactly. So they sent it to the House, and Nancy Pelosi has not brought that bill to the floor. So Kevin McCarthy went to the floor yesterday and screamed and howled about how she better get that bill on the floor right now. Never has he done it or even emoted
That's what
a
he was
little
screaming about.
bit. Yeah, that's what he was screaming about. It's not the fact that 19 children were slaughtered and couldn't even be identified, right, because of the gun that shot them, and none of that. No, he was screaming about Nancy Pelosi not bringing that funding bill to the floor, even though this man self-reported, even though he was obviously arrested. He did not actually shoot Kavanaugh. These things did not happen. I mean, yeah, it's still scary. I mean, if I found out that there was some dude walking around with a gun outside my house looking to shoot me,
Yeah.
I'd be afraid of that. I
Yeah,
mean,
no,
I'm
I
not
mean,
going to
no,
lie.
nobody's endorsing the shooting of Supreme Court
No.
justices. Nobody's
Right.
saying that's something that should happen, but it
Right.
would be nice if they gave at least a fraction of the concern, if they exhibited a
Right.
fraction of the concern for that
Our
for
children
school
in our
innocent school
schools.
children that they do for, and translated that into some kind of action that in the way that they do for 9 unelected elite judges who live in mini mansions all around DC
Right.
and Maryland and Virginia.
The problem is this one crazy guy who went after Kavanaugh, just like the one crazy guy that shot Scalise, is what
Mm.
allows them to go, oh, both sides.
Not
And
with me. Not with
it's
me.
not both
I'll never
sides.
let that shit go. I'll never
On
let that
both
shit
sides.
go.
No, 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 no. Not,
They can't get away with that with me.
yeah, not going to play that game. But
Nope.
I mean, yeah,
Nope. I'll bring up
they do
every
it.
single. I'll sit there with my phone and
Antifa.
I'll be like, nope, 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 and I'll show them. I'll pull it up on Google. I'll say how many guns. I'll do it.
Speaking of Antifa, have you seen the video? I think it's been around for a few months, but it just got some play again this week. The video of the dude at the Trump rally, the man and the woman at the Trump rally, who tell the
The Good
dude who's
Liars.
interviewing him, yeah, the good
Yeah.
liars, right? That it was Antifa who rioted at the Capitol, and
I
he's
love
so
that one.
so isn't Antifa on Biden's side? I mean, why would they do that?
Why
Why
would
would
they
they
try to
try to
stop
stop Biden from being certified?
Yeah.
And they can't come up with an answer. It's just the saddest thing. Actually, I mean, it's funny. It's the kind of thing that's funny in the moment, but at the same time, you just think, how is this possible in this country that you don't have the power to reason even that much, right? That
Yeah.
why would they stop
I mean,
Biden?
40
But you
years
see their
ago,
brain glitching
Yeah,
in that video. You really see it happening.
you
And
do
I'm
in real
reminded
time.
again, I've spoken about it before. I'm reminded again of my brother-in-law's work with deprogramming Moonies.
mhm,
Hmm.
it is a
And that
cult.
of having, just asking very calmly, very simple questions like, how does that make sense? And I
Yeah,
feel like in that video, I feel like you really saw the people like almost like, well, just like what I said, their brains glitching and saying, "Oh,
Yeah.
oh." Like I feel like they might have actually walked away thinking, "Does that make sense?" Like,
yeah,
and that's the kind of thing that I feel like might actually make a difference. And he's so non-threatening. That guy has said they both have Jason
Yeah.
Selvig and I forget the other
hmm
guy's name have such an easy non-threatening way about
right.
them, and the way they bring out these people's absurd views and often hateful, terrible views are he just makes them feel so at ease, and
Right.
Yeah,
it's
I couldn't do that.
really remarkable. They're really doing, like they just started out as pranksters, and they've
Yes,
really turned into I mean, I really feel like they're doing a service,
they are.
like a
Yeah.
real social service, a real political service with the work they're doing.
I just wish that more people would see it. I mean, unfortunately, what they do is offset by Fox News lying and lying and lying.
Yeah.
And last night, I mean, I just literally I try to keep my politics off Facebook, but I could
Yeah.
not. I couldn't. I just couldn't. It was what they did last night was literally just the devil's deception. That's what I called it on Facebook. I said, this
Yeah.
is the devil's deception. They it's worthy of Goebbels. It really is.
Well,
Yeah.
that's
It's
yeah.
it
Yeah.
they what they did was they basically said nothing to see here, nothing to see here, nothing to see here. Never addressed any and put just enough of the pictures of people watching, but without any of the actual exhibits or any of the actual things.
None of the
They
testimony, none of
None
the
of the testimony, none of that
statements.
in front of their viewers. They did that over on Fox Business, but then I mean on Fox Business they had like I don't know. It's
100,000
just
viewers on Fox Business.
yeah, like
Yeah,
no
that's not
viewers
safe.
whatsoever. And then Tucker Carlson brings on people who are actually like insurrection deniers who call it a false flag. It's just, and that's so evil,
Gabbard.
huh?
He had Tulsi.
Tulsi Gabbard is now their token, liberal
She's not a
over there.
Democrat.
She's not a
Right.
Democrat.
That's why I called her a liberal. She's not a liberal either, but
No,
She's
she's not.
yeah. But I mean, she was always a stealth conservative.
Boy.
So
it's,
yeah. Anyway, I mean,
Doesn't it, Karoli?
what? I know.
It still pisses us off.
It does piss me off. It's
it
like
pisses me off too.
She used us though. She got on our show and called, told us a bunch of lies, a pack of lies.
Yeah.
Did she?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. She did. I did know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a long time ago.
What year? Yeah, I was going to say that wasn't. What year was that?
2010, was it?
20, maybe 20. No, because we started after the midterms in 2010, so it must have been 2012.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. Anyway.
Well, in relatively amusing news, apparently if on Truth Social, which is neither true or social, if you mention anything about the hearings, you get your account suspended.
Orwellian.
Yeah.
So,
it's so funny though. I mean, it's like you can't say any. The only person who can say anything, I guess, is Trump, and the only thing he does is call everybody a liar, including his own daughter. By the way, I mean, he threw her under the bus and everything. I guess they haven't spoken. Somebody said since he left office.
I heard like in 500 days or something, in over a year.
Yeah. Oh well. I mean, she's just a chip off the old block. They'll speak at some point, I'm sure.
Yeah.
She got hers.
Yeah, she got hers. The gravy train's over. He's not a source of income for her anymore.
That's right.
Yeah, well, Jared's the one with the 20 billion under management or whatever. Thank you, Saudis. She doesn't need daddy anymore.
I think it was just 2 billion, but yeah.
Sorry, I just
whatever it is.
Yeah,
I made a
2 billion under management is a pretty decent income every year. I'm just saying, even when the value goes down. So, yeah. So she's got her big house and her kids and whatever.
Oh yeah, she'll be. I'm not worried about Donkey.
Yeah, me either.
But the other thing that makes me mad is that the rest of them at least Monday's hearings aren't going to be in prime time. I want them all to be in prime time.
There will be one more in prime time.
I want more than one in prime time.
I know.
I want to see Mondays in prime time.
Again, back to the strategy. All this time they've been working on this a year, and this is the first hearing we had since the three.
It's been a while.
Which was about a year ago.
Yeah, it was a long time
ago. In the meantime, they've been strategically leaking to reporters. So we've been getting drips and drabs that are just a tiny, tiny bit of what they've got.
I mean, maybe they're planning on things that, the things that they're planning for Monday, they're planning that so that it can be replayed on the news all day long or something.
Yeah, that's what I'm sure that's what they're hoping to do.
It's not the same as it was in the days of Watergate when there were just 3 networks and everybody was watching the same thing. Everything is siloed. We have online. I feel like media-wise, they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Again, Benny Thompson has done a fantastic job. He said in the opening statement last night that over the course of these hearings, other members of the committee will have their turn. They got rid of the every person has 5 minutes because this is
thank God.
Thank God.
And in favor of last night, it was just Thompson and Cheney and witnesses and video. Monday, maybe it'll be Kinzinger and Jamie Raskin. I mean, who knows? But they will focus on a couple of each member of the committee has a part.
Yeah, they have their own focus.
This very complicated story that they present to all of us so that we all understand it, even if we have not been reading the news obsessively.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm just very glad that the critics were proven wrong, which
Yeah.
doesn't mean they won't stop whining that it's not going to make a difference and
You
trying to
know what?
lower expectations.
This is where I turn around and say to them, and I think we all should do this. Then make a difference. Then
Right.
you make the difference.
Yeah.
Then
Right.
then get somebody to the vote. Then help make a difference. Then do something.
I
Don't bitch
agree.
about how it's not going to make a difference. Convince
Yeah.
somebody to watch it.
Yeah.
Totally
Don't
agree.
be cynical. You think you can afford to be cynical? Those are my rights. You're being cynical with.
Right.
Those
On
are my
top of
rights. You're
it,
willing to just poo poo and say, fuck it. It's not worth voting.
on top of it, doesn't the press realize that if the Republicans win, they won't have the same freedoms that they have now.
They don't
It's
care.
the
They'll have
end
their
of freedom
stories.
of
They
the
want
press.
Trump back.
That is
They
the
miss Trump.
end of freedom of the press.
Yeah.
They
I
still think
mean,
they'll have a gravy train. They'll get a book. They think I'm so soured on the press, on the mainstream media. I'm so sour on them right now.
yeah,
Well, blogging was born for the same reason. I mean, that's
Yeah,
why bloggers came into existence, because they didn't feel
yeah,
like they were getting any truth out of their mainstream press
yeah,
with regard to the Iraq War.
yeah. And that's why Crooks and
Mm-hmm.
Liars is so vital. Like that's why.
Mm-hmm.
you guys support Crooks and Liars. They do
Yes,
a good
please.
job. They're having
Please,
a
please.
membership drive. Be a
Yes.
member.
Yes, please.
Be a member, subscribe. You won't get the annoying ads.
Yes. You won't, but you'll get all the good stories, I promise, and
Yeah,
videos. We have
yeah.
the biggest video archive of political videos basically on the internet. Ours
Yeah,
is bigger than Media Matters. It's bigger than Media.
we've been around longer, haven't we?
Yep.
Yep, yep.
Yeah.
Long, long time.
Yeah. So thank you for that plug. I appreciate it. We
We should
definitely.
probably do the plug
We should do it
also.
every time.
We should. We should.
Yeah.
Um, for the few people who watch this, yeah.
Mommy.
Well, anyway, you guys, that's about it this week. It's funny. We started this, all three of us were going, we're so low energy. I don't
I
think
Yeah.
we
know.
I
can
was
go
at the
an
hour flew
hour.
by.
I know.
So, let's do our little disclaimer that comes at the end. That's our show for the week. Join us next week at our location at momocrats.buzzsprout.com, our YouTube channel, or find us on your favorite podcast service such as iTunes, Google, and Amazon Music. And be sure to check our Facebook page for updates. This is Donna Schwartz Mills saying goodbye for the MOMocrats. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
MOMocrats Mama Chats, part of the DemCast family of podcasts.